I think the name itself, the term itself, unconscious bias, says it all. So any bias that we have, which we are really not aware of, we say it unconsciously, based on which, so we are, so there's a bias that we have in our mind, based on, whatever we've learned since childhood, from society, from the environment around us, and we create stereotypes.
Yes.
And that we don't even know, we're not even aware, but we have unconscious biases. Can I give you some references so that you understand? What are these biases? We're talking about physical biases. For instance, people will talk about, we will have perceptions about people who have weight issues, or people who are, skin color is a really big example. Somebody's sexuality is another bias that we have. We're talking about social, biases. Every day we'll say boys are blue and girls should wear pink. Boys should play with certain kind of toys and girls should play with dolls. There are so many biases. We are constantly being fed these biases since we are born, and they become a part of us. We learn them, we use them in a day-to-day basis, not even realizing, not even being aware, and they become a part of us until we become aware of it, and slowly we start unlearning. I can give you thousands of examples. The way we look at things. Let's say, for example, in terms of physical, we say, "Ye to bahut moti hai." So she must be. People, the moment you see a person who is overweight, you will think that person is very funny. Okay. You see, that just thought. Now, have you even thought about this? You think it's. We have stereotype that we give. For example, we'll say Marwadis are kanjus.
Yes.
We do that. Yeah. So we do that. Yeah, so we say that, right? We say the people from the northeast are Chinese. We say, I'm a Mangalorean, they call me Maka Pao. I have no idea what that means. So based on our perception, we start creating these little labels and little dialogues within ourselves, and these are the unconscious biases. As parents, so when we are born, all of us are born. When we are born, we are all on the same level. We don't know really much, right? Then somebody will bring us up, somebody will look after us, our caregiver, maybe it's our parent. We will start learning words like mama, papa, things. Suddenly we start learning things that we are not even aware of again. Then we will start, then we start going to school, then we start having friendships, then we start having society. We are constantly fed, right? Now, when we are fed information, we don't know whether it is right or wrong. I was constantly told that boys should not cry. Yes. That girls are very caring, boys are strong. Yes. That is the environment I was brought up in, so I believed that. An example, when my children, I have children who are now nearly 23 years old, my twins. When my children were born, and I have a son and a daughter. So my son was born little light-skinned, and my daughter was born darker skinned. My family or my friends who would come and visit us, they would constantly say, "Arey, bichari ladki, usse shaadi kaun karega?" Now she's born 2 days old. Shaadi ki baat ho rahi hai. I'm saying that poor girl, who's going to marry her basis her skin color. Now, this is the bias they had in their mind because of whatever stereotype that they'd lived through, and they were actually passing on that stereotype to me. For example, I'll give you another example of bias. I was married, as you know, for a long time ago now, and I was fortunately, I was in a situation, or my circumstances were that I had a better job than my former husband. So my earning was better than my former husband. So I brought us our first bike. I bought us our first car. But family and friends again would come home and say, "Congratulations," and to Ravi, "Kya baat hai? Arey, aapne to bada kaam kar diya." So they would congratulate him, absolutely believing that it is the man of the house who was responsible to have provided that for us. So this is again unconscious bias, assuming women don't have the capability or don't have a role in there. But now I have to tell you about you as well, and I love you so much. I have to tell you, when I received a letter, email confirmation from your office, the email confirmation came as "Dear Sir." It was written to me. It could have been sent to me as "Dear Raga," for instance, right? But it was said "Dear Sir." Again, a standard letter has been written, assuming that the person you're addressing to and always address will be a man. We don't even realize.
When you write it sir or ma'am, when you write it SIRS, it by default means it could be for a man or a female.
We don't need to do that.
Yes.
A woman is a beautiful woman with her own womanhood. We don't need to be a sir. We are whatever. Yeah, we're lady. What I'm saying is, we don't even realize it is not right or wrong. It is not blatant racism or casteism or sexualism or sexism, whatever. It is something that is unconscious. That's what I'm saying. I receive calls all the time. First thing they will say, because people know I'm a successful entrepreneur in my own right, I'm successful. But they will call and say, Mr. Raga hai kya? Mr. De Silva, please? Lots, because my name is Raga. So they assume I must be Raja and I'm a Mr. Raja De Silva. So these are unconscious biases. We believe, the society predominantly believes that it is fully male dominated. It is patriarchy, as we know, and we speak that language all the time. Let's say we are in a recruitment process. We want to hire somebody. Okay, when we want to hire somebody in India, typically we want a CV, a resume, which will have date of birth, marital status, and I don't know whether it is prevalent right now, but typically people also put their photograph.
Yes, it is.
Do you know in New Zealand this is not even allowed? Where I lived for 10 years, which I am a citizen of, it's not even allowed. On your CV, you don't put your date of birth, because so that nobody can recruit you basis your age.
Yes.
So there's no ageism. That you will not have your marital status. Whether you're married, not married, doesn't impact your job. Why should it impact your job?
Why should it impact, right?
Yeah. Gender also. You don't even write male or female, by the way.
That's what, really?
Yes.
Wow.
And that is how it should be. It should be purely non-judgmental. Hiring should be on the basis of talent and skill. I'll give a little interesting example. You know of this program called The Voice, which is it's like the Indian Idol show, where performers come on stage, they perform, and then the judges select them, and then they go on to round 2, round 3, round 4, and the finals. The interesting thing about The Voice, Kalpana, is that in this, the judges don't face the performer. Their backs are to the performer. So let's say I'm a performer, I've come on stage, I've performed, but the judges cannot see me. So they cannot discriminate or make a choice based on what I look like. It's purely based on talent, pure talent. It's only when they like the voice, they have to press the buzzer and then the chair turns. And I can tell you, I have watched this program many times. And each time the judge will say, oh my God, I didn't expect this voice to come from you. My question is, what if you were watching this person and felt that that person didn't fit in with your perception of that voice? Would you have selected that person? So the reason I'm saying this is, I think in a workplace environment, we should somehow find a way of a solution that actually works around this philosophy, that we should not discriminate basis what we think the face should be, the age should be, the gender should be, the pure talent and skills. And I think one way of doing that is using technology in a more effective manner. Absolutely. And having policies and having a culture and telling people who are in the HR and recruitment process that be open, be non-judgmental, train them, because the HR needs to understand. Imagine the loss the company faces because at the HR level, at the recruiting level, somebody has used their personal unconscious bias to hire somebody, and the hiring could be completely wrong. Everything should be taught to us right from the time we are little. So the social structure that we have has to somehow make the change happen. Now, whether it will come from our own thinking, when we are parents, the way we think, we are the first ones to pass it on to our children. So we start there. Then we pass it on to the general people who are in our ecosystem. School should talk about love. Schools, we don't talk about these things. Not sex education, that is later.
Education.
Love is important. Whether it is about kindness, compassion, it doesn't matter that you're which gender, whether you are differently abled, whether you have a different surname, whether you have a strong accent, whether your father or your mother is well off and a big title, whether you come from a humble family or from a rich family, whether you as your family is seen as successful, we start at that level. When we start at that level, society will change and implement the changes. And I am talking about a very idealistic world, and I'm a very idealistic person, and I believe that change will happen.